I say setting up kind of like a schedule, but a routine of doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you get in the habit of doing that routine, see, for me, exercise is just exercise. But when it comes to school, it's like, okay, that's something where there's actually someone above me telling me,
professor, classes,
this
grades.
is what you gotta do, this is deadline, stuff like that. But when I don't have any of that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, how long can I do it for?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in school, I mean, like I said, you have people telling you what to do, and then you have grades, the grade part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, well, if you can do this indefinitely, right? It's just kind of proof that you can do other things as well. Same. It's the same idea.
So what you're saying, if you can do your 100 to 180 push-ups every day, run 4 miles every other day, indefinitely, the mindset you apply to that, you apply to everything.
Yep. Everything else.
So it just literally tells you, if I can do this running 4 miles every other day and these push-ups every day, I can do anything.
Mm-hmm. And it's balanced. Same with dieting. I mean, that one was kind of like sudden, but now it's kind of like, I don't feel guilty when I eat outside of it, but it is definitely a strange feeling. I try to stick to that.
Stick to your nutrition plan.
Yeah. Where like I only would normally eat out on Thursdays and Saturdays, just only twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
So even though now I'm here, we kind of eat out whenever. It's still only twice a week, and every other day there's something that I
healthy. Your normal healthy stuff. So your 2 kind of cheat reward days, but you're still 5 days on track.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the same thing for that too. I mean, you just make sure that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Cause I'm like, I know what it is. Cause you watch me every day lift weights. You just watch me every day lift weights or ride a bike or something. And I said, you know what? I know you and Micah have watched me, but I'm like, well, what is in Mason's head that's telling him to do what he does?
Yeah, there's literally no reason other than let's see if I can do it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to it. In fact, everybody will ask, what do you train for? Nothing. It's just to do it.
But you do apply the fact. You said if I'm
the philosophy of it.
The philosophy. So
if I'm disciplined enough to do it when there's no oversight or anything, I'm just doing it just cause. And when I have that oversight, it's really the same thing.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I was telling Mom, I treat my teachers less like teachers, but more like guiding hands.
Okay.
And so if you're thinking of them as teachers, at least K through 12, teachers are just kind of telling you what to do and you gotta do it. But if you're treating them someone like they're your guiding hand, like if you're doing this for yourself or by yourself, they're there to kind of steer you around those trappings you'd fall into trying to do everything by yourself.
Right.
And so in treating them less like teachers and more like guiding hands, it makes it a lot easier to do those things.
So in that way...
So in that way, it's still the same thing as doing running and all of that stuff. It's just now, it's kind of like having a coach. It's kind of like having a coach telling you, do this particular exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So like if coach was still over me, it would be less me just kind of, well, I do have a rigid schedule of what I like to do, but it would be less my rigid schedule and more someone else's schedule and with a purpose beyond just doing it for myself.
Yeah. So your schedule now, your regimen is a way of you coaching yourself.
Yeah.
So you coaching yourself to be disciplined.
Yeah.
And if you can do the push-ups every day and the run, rain or shine every day, you can do anything.
Pretty much. And even then, I mean, I had the guitar even before that.
Yeah.
And that, I want to say the guitar was the first thing I kind of was paying attention to where I was at. Because of course I've had other hobbies, but I would just do them not necessarily absent-mindedly, but absent-minded
with no focus or trying to master it.
I mean, yeah, there was that, but there's no how am I going about doing this? It's just I'm doing it.
You're just doing it, okay.
And so with guitar, it was like, okay, let's see how far I could take daily practice and where will daily practice on my own get me. And then of course mom was like, well, you can take lessons. And at that point, well, since I was at Lane, I was already taking music classes, so I was like, well, I could sign up for just private lessons just like I would with the rest of my classes.
So he's really more like a coach or guide than a teacher.
Yep. And technically he is a teacher. I do. It is a grade, of course, but I treat him less like a teacher and more like a guide. And so he says, okay, you should practice this, and this, and that'll be what your focus is for the weekend, and that's what I'll do. And then, of course, if I want to do something on my own, all that stuff carries back into stuff I want to do by myself.
Okay.
If the whole point of playing guitar is just to see how far I can take it and how good I can get at it, then all having a teacher is doing is just telling me how to navigate, not necessarily how to get to the end result quicker, but just how to not get stuck in doing one thing and being able to do only one thing. And it's more like, so I was explaining the chords. I wouldn't have done the chords like that. I would have just memorized all of them up and down the neck, and I'd have never realized that there was a repeating pattern. But having a teacher or a guiding hand, they'll tell you there's a set amount of patterns, and this is how you should go about learning them. And then you learn all of them. And that way you're not memorizing like 30, 40, 50 different patterns or seemingly different patterns up and down the neck. You only learn 15 total. But even then, you dedicate an entire week just to that first 5, and then you move on to a different set. And then it's kind of like, when people talk about cramming for exams, when you're treating like a guiding hand, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're always referencing earlier material. Because I was explaining it to mom, the difference in Japanese when I first took it and now is that I treat it less like the teacher's telling me what to do and more like
guiding hand.
Yeah. And so with that, there's no need to really go back and cram for exams or any of that stuff.
You're on top of it each time.
Yeah, and it's mainly because if the objective for me is just to obtain the ability to interpret what I hear and by extension speak it, then the teacher is just there to guide me on how to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're just following their instruction, and of course you're kind of applying it to the other stuff they teach you, then there's no real reason to go back and cram for exams and all that stuff. There's no reason to do that.
So are you using what Coach Brant taught you for running, or you're at a point where you have your own running?
Yeah, I can just do what I want as long as I don't go overboard. Because if I were to train seriously, that would be training for an event of some sort. But when you're training indefinitely, I mean, you can't be training like you'd be training for an event. It has to be strenuous, but not too straight. Enough to where you can do it without having to take a stop.
Take some time off.
Yeah.
So when you hurt your quad,
then I didn't have a choice.
But were you trying to push it below 6 minutes, or it was just so much? You were just doing it so much you had.
Not even. It was more like even before I had started doing that, it was like I would decide one day I would want to go for a run to work, and then I would finish, and I'd be in a ton of pain. It wouldn't even be like I don't feel it. No. I would feel it afterwards. Even when I initially started, I just figured it would kind of go away as time went on, which it did, but it was kind of up and down. Yeah.
Were you running when you were riding a bike?
Yes, but not quite like this.
Not like on the schedule you're on now.
Yeah, it was just like, I feel like going for a run today.
Okay.
Or, if I was in the mood to go for a run, I would just do it going to work.
Yeah.
And so I would do a lot of preparation stuff in advance to have my stuff with me so I can come back really quickly and easily. But even doing that, it would cause an enormous amount of pain. That was just a one and done. That wasn't even like a schedule. So.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted, so you answered my question. You're just basically building you're just seeing how long you can continue to run and discipline yourself, run and push-ups and discipline yourself. And 2, if you apply it to running and push-ups on your own without a guide. You can do that with everything else without a guide. But if you got a guide, it just helps you.
Yeah, and so for things, for example, when I go back to doing physics again, I'm just going to treat it the same way. So, I can do it by myself, of course, but the problem is doing something by yourself when you don't have any other background information on how to go about doing it. It's not necessarily going to be hard, but it's going to be, you won't go as far as you could in a set amount of time period.
Like having